Some signal back here. Well, happy Friday, everybody. I'm Nick Slavik. I'm the proprietor of the Nick Slavik Painting and Restoration Company and also the host of Ask a Painter Live. It's a weekly live Facebook show where I use my 2 decades of experience as a painter, a craftsman, a lover of houses to answer any of your questions, whether you're a homeowner or a pro. Homeowners, what have you always wanted to ask a professional painter? And for professionals, we're here to talk entrepreneurship, HR, finance, apprenticeship, craftsmanship, coding science. And coding science is actually the reason I'm here today. I'm here at Ceramic Industrial Coatings in Osseo, Minnesota. They're a manufacturer of coatings and other things. And I'm here with Chris Boyer. He's actually the technical director at Ceramic Industrial here. So he's the most knowledgeable guy in this entire building. And we're going to talk to him about some specific things they do here. So let's see if there's any housekeeping we got to do here. Oh yes, any questions you guys have, type them down below. You're not going to be interrupting here. Once we give you the description of Ceramic Industrial Coatings and kind of what they do, maybe it'll spur on some questions. Sharing is caring, so like this, watch this, but if you would share it, that would be doing me the largest favor ever. So, and if anybody wants to go dual live with us today too, you can hit the small little green camera icon in the bottom, and you can pop up on screen if you have a job site you want to show, if you got a particular question you want to show us, go right ahead. But otherwise, we're going to talk about ceramic industrial coatings. And I got here this morning early. Rob, the big guy around here, he took me around the plant, and it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. I've been to paint manufacturing facilities before, but this one is very impressive. And Rob Lobsher, the guy who I made contact with and is kind of at the helm of this ship, he's actually in my economic gardening group. So we're a group of business owners, second stage growth businesses, where we get together once a month. We collaborate on ideas. We help solve each other's things. The business. Sorry, this is getting a little in the weeds here, but hang tight. The new business strategy that I implemented over the last 3 months, Rob and this company has been doing for 3 years now. So Rob has been my mentor in a lot of this stuff, and we obviously took a tour of the facility today, but we also talked a lot about this business process that I'm going through right now and reformulating my business. So it's been really great. And it's fun to actually see somebody who's been through these processes, implements them, and you can actually see evidence of this EOS all over this business here. Everything from the guy sitting on a chair in the corner filling paint cans to the front office. It's super cool here. So okay, well, let's talk ceramic industrial coatings. Chris, what do you guys make here?
We make a variety of products here. Roughly half the products we make are related to wood coatings. So be that stains, water-based stains, solvent stains, or factory, like pre-finished millwork or pre-finished cabinets, that sort of thing.
Okay, so your typical end user is going to be a business or industrial setting, and not usually the chuck in the truck who comes with the white clothes.
Right. We don't make really any architectural coatings, anything that is applied to a stationary object. Those just aren't the type of products we make.
Okay.
So that's about half of what we do, and then the other half is tolling. So we would be making other companies' products for them.
Oh, so and what do they call it? Batch manufacturing or contract manufacturing. So you guys have a ton of capabilities, and you know when I showed up, you know I expected to see the big tanks, but you guys have an amazing array of capabilities back there, and it was really humbling to see. So.
Right, because different applications definitely require different equipment and then different batch sizes.
Yeah. Okay, and one of the most impressive things that I saw back there was your level of automation. I mean, you've taken sort of the quality control process, and you through machinery and science and automation, you guys are slowly getting that down to. It's such an exacting thing, especially because you guys, from what I understand, you're sort of known for a lot of custom colors. You know, doing the dirty work that a lot of. I assume most manufacturers, they want to make 1 million gallons of white something and send it out the door. And what I saw back there was glazes, stains, all sorts of what is considered probably the nightmare sort of stuff.
Right.
So how,
That's right.
and the one thing that I was very curious to, in looking through your website and stuff, is a lot of water-based wood finishes, especially, it seems that you guys do a lot of work, cabinetry, millwork packages that are pre-finished. So I'm very curious about the water-based stuff, because most guys in my shoes, we remember Minwax polyacrylic.
Right.
And we basically said, well, hey, that was the first big thing that we could try on the market. We tried it, and it was horrible. Not only was it not fun to work with, it looks like hell. It wasn't a great product to use, and sadly, I think a lot of us guys on the street, residential repainters and whatever, we sort of wrote off water-based finishes, but I'm starting to see, it seems like there's a big lag time, and now we're starting to see a bunch of science emerge in that. Like, what do we need to know about water-based coatings nowadays?
Right, so water-based coatings, fundamentally, any solvent-based product can be converted into a water-based product, kind of fundamentally. What happened was when historically the industry was all oil and solvent-based. And yeah, so the first products, as you mentioned, that came out were
and my apologies, I hope that wasn't one of your guys.
Oh, no.
I assume they do
Midwest.
that. Okay,
But,
good.
Yeah, no, and yeah, I mean they were the first entree, the first endeavor into a new technology, and they did what they did. But over the years, the fundamental technology has improved.
Yeah.
So it sort of rewinds to the resin manufacturers, the people who make raw materials for us, needed some time to develop the basic technology. So the resins and the additives that make the materials work, and that part of the business, the raw material suppliers have done pretty good work, to the point now where there are finished products on the market that are paints and coatings that are very good products. They have to be applied a little bit differently than a solvent-based product or an oil-based product, but the final finish can be as good or better from a aesthetic, just the way it looks perspective, and then a durability that perspective.
Is one of the big hurdles for you guys, or do you take this into account, the proverbial cliched plasticky look? Because I know from the field and from homeowners, that's what I hear a lot. Are you trying to combat that? Is it a thing we should even be combating, or do we just need to get used to the new sort of look of water-based finishes? Or
well, it's kind of both. I mean, the coatings industry, so the paint manufacturers we do know that. I mean, we're aware that water-based products can look plastic.
Yep.
And so that's a big deal when we're developing it. We look at that. So the appearance, to avoid that plasticky look, there's sort of this warmth of wood ambering that traditional oil and solvent-based products bring. That's something that we look at and try to mimic or bring along into the water-based product. And then also feel. This sort of hand, tactile effect is something that is a little bit easier to achieve. It just kind of comes in with the oil-based products and the solvent-based products, and you have to build it in to a water-based product.
Oh, so it's a naturally occurring phenomenon with solvents or oils, but you sort of have to we'll just tweak it a little bit in water-based stuff.
Right.
Right. Engineer it in.
Right. You have to just engineer it in, build it in, and you have to do it deliberately.
Yeah.
And again, that's a place where additive and resin manufacturers have done. There's just a plethora of materials out there to just tune it just right.
Okay. And so when I don't know if it's a big misnomer or it's a misconception, but it seems like when you crack open a can of a water-based finish, anything that I've used that I would consider good still smells.
Oh yeah.
Like it's still got something in it, and it's from guys in the field. It's something that it's a saying that's going away, but it's a saying that we've stuck by all these years, is the worse it smells, the better it is. And with, we're getting, that is becoming untrue with a lot of these beautiful 100% acrylic exterior sort of elastomeric type paints, so that we can tell that that's not always the case, but still when you're finishing wood and stuff. So when we think about water-based finish, our homeowners say, well, can't you use a water-based, because then they think of no smell, nothing. But when we do it, there's still something in there. What is that smell in water-based?
Well, basically what it is it's solvent. It's just different types of solvent.
Okay.
So the way a water-based coating works is the resin is different. Right. So in a solvent-based product, we have a liquid resin that is essentially like honey, the consistency of honey, and we take solvent and we thin it out so that you can either roll it or brush it or spray it, and then that solvent evaporates, and what's left is the honey, and then the honey reacts with itself and leaves a film. So in water, that doesn't work because that resin isn't compatible with water. It's oil and water. Right?
Yeah.
So what the resin manufacturers do is they create an emulsion. So they have a big tank of water. They mix it really fast, and more or less they put the resin into that.
Yeah.
And they create an emulsion. Small little balls of resin.
Yep.
And so when we buy resin, it's water with all these hard balls of resin in it.
So you already buy the emulsification. You buy this. Okay.
Right. And so that's the fundamental building block of the paint. So those balls, in order to be stable in a can, they have to be hard, so they don't all coalesce with each other.
Because then it'll separate then.
Right. Well, it'll re-oil and water, but it'll re-separate out.
Okay.
Right. You'll have the resin would float on top, the water would sink to the bottom, and it would just not work.
Yep.
So what happened? Those particles are hard, and if we made a paint out of that with no solvent in it, we would get a nice film. It would look glossy and wet, and the water would evaporate, and the whole thing would crack. It would turn to dust, and it would just blow away.
Wow.
Because the resin particles wouldn't coalesce. They wouldn't interact with each other.
They'd just be all sitting there next to each other.
Right. And if you actually look really close, I mean, if you get like a electron microscope and you really look close, it literally is that. It literally looks like billiard balls all packed in there. So the way we make it coalesce into a film is by putting solvent in. So we put solvent in. Since the solvent is generally not compatible with water, it doesn't want to be in the water. It prefers to be inside the resin particle. So we put it in, it goes inside the resin particle and makes it soft. And then we spray out our film. It's nice and wet and glossy. The water evaporates, and the water evaporates faster than these solvents. They're different solvents. They're much slower to evaporate than like traditional solvents, and so they're still in the film after the water's gone. So they're making all these particles soft. And
so when the water leaves quickly, these things are left behind, and is it thinking correctly that they're slowly trying to get into these, and by getting in, they're sort of breaking them down or making them soft, or what is the actual? Yeah.
So the solvent is inside the hard particle. So now it's a soft particle.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's essentially what's happening.
Okay.
And then that allows the particles, as the water evaporates, there's some surface tension that causes the particles to kind of melt into each other.
Okay. Now and I've been trying to get to the bottom of hybrid finishes for a long time. But one of my favorite products is an enamel, and it's a hybrid. And the way it was explained to me, 6-7 years ago, is that you got the water and you got the balls of oil. The water gets it on there, the water goes away, and then you're left with oil stuff there.
Oh yeah.
And it was basically explained, the emulsion, the salad dressing, the oil and the vinegar, you spin it together fast enough, and the closest I got to understanding from the molecular structure is something about unraveling. Does that? And I get a lot of different sort of, and the way you make it sound like they sort of, the solvents make them soft enough so they can sort of coalesce. I've had it be explained as the molecule, because of polarity, it unravels. What's your understanding basically of?
Yeah, well, different resin bases are slightly different, right? So if we're looking at an acrylic paint, that's the hard particles.
Yep.
If we're looking at like an emulsified oil, and we see those around.
Absolutely.
Right. So there's some like linseed oil manufacturers and that sort of thing will literally emulsify the oil in the water. And then there's all the stages in between, right? So people blend these things together, and you get different different things. But yeah, so oil would be much more like that.
Okay.
Right? So you have these oil, and it's salad dressing, right? It's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
But they make this oil stable in these small little balls. They're not hard because they're oil, but they stay separated.
Okay.
And then when the water evaporates, then they just kind of open up, and you literally have the same oil that you had before when it was just straight oil.
Okay. Because again, coming from a very, I'm a restorationist. I love old houses, so I always harken back to shellac finishes, linseed oil finishes, wax finishes, things like that. And you see them in these 130-year-old houses, and they're just beautiful, and they're stable, and they're there. They might take a little cleaning, but the look of them too is a thing, and it's something I'm always trying to mimic. So when a polyacrylic comes on the market, a water-based wood finish, or even the hybrids for a while, the hybrid enamels, obviously I'm skeptical, but pretty soon when you see the look of them and you feel them, and then you find out how hard and durable they are, just like the old oils, painters are the worst because they find one thing and they just stay with it for the rest of their lives.
Sure.
They never change. So it took me about 2 or 3 years of using hybrids. Now I've completely almost switched over, and it's tough to go back now to the oils. But I'm always curious I know what it feels in the field. I'd be curious on your opinion on what would you consider to be, if we take the 3 basic kind of wood finishes that a lot of people use, at least in the field. You have your lacquers, you have your oils, and you have your water-based finishes. Is there any one that stands out in water resistant, durability, hardness, any other factors you consider? I mean, are they all about equal? It just depends on application, or what are your thoughts on that sort of thing?
Well, yeah. I'd say in the category of water-based, they can range from equivalent to a lacquer, all the way to equivalent to a 2-component polyurethane, like automotive finish.
Yep.
So the standard products, the kind of acrylics that are out there, they're probably in the lacquer category.
Okay.
Lacquer or pre-cat lacquer type of thing.
Okay.
Right there, where they're pretty good products. They're durable. And they're pretty durable products. If you're making a high-end cabinet, you want something different.
Sure. Sure.
There are water-based products that give you that higher performance. Something like a conversion varnish, an acid catalyzed product. Those are generally, I guess, industrial applied. But, from a site finishing product, an oil, if it's just a linseed oil type of oil, those are going to...
Alkyd sort of thing, too?
Right.
And, okay.
Right, so, the more alkyd you have in there, the more closer you are to the alkyd side, the more durable and hard that's going to be.
Oh, okay.
An alkyd finish is a pretty tough thing.
Yeah.
And then you jump over to the polyurethane, it dries the same way. It's chemically the same reaction is happening. It's reacting with oxygen to dry.
Yep.
But the backbone of the resin is harder. So
okay.
I mean that's why a polyurethane is tougher.
Okay.
So I guess the way I think of it is on the solvent base, like architectural coatings. We start out with an oil, which is easy to apply, looks really nice, but is fairly soft.
Yep.
And it just doesn't ever really get harder. Then you have an alkyd, like an alkyd varnish.
Yep.
And that's sort of in the middle.
And an alkyd is explained to me man-made oil or an oil that's modified in a certain way. It's not just a raw sort of, or even a boiled linseed or something.
Right. And exactly what they do is they take a petroleum-derived product, phthalic anhydride, and they react it with usually linseed oil, soy oil, some oil that has some drying character. Okay. And that's what they make. So that's exactly what it is.
Interesting. Well, from a molecular standpoint, is there any big misnomers, any things that that maybe is assumed wrongly on the outside world? Is there any bit of information that you could give to actual guys putting it on in the field that would help them understand it better, or do you see any huge mistakes that guys are actually applying that you would like to correct? Or
maybe two things. I mean, water-based products in general will sometimes get, from a homeowner perspective, they're a lot easier to use because the cleanup is easier for a homeowner. Sometimes for professionals, the solvent-based or oil-based products are easier to use because you have mineral spirits around to clean, right? And they're easier to rework.
Absolutely.
Once water dries, it's dry.
Yep.
And but I think it's not necessarily the case that the water-based products are harder to work with. They just have to be worked with differently.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's one thing that I would, in general.
So because we're on this stage where in the history of painting, they've really only been introduced in the last little bit.
Right.
And then the technology has gone so far, so quick, that it's sort of one of those evolving things where when hybrid enamels came on, people had to change a little bit what they did. It wasn't that big of a departure, but do you think that it'll just be a slow retooling? Because painters are sticks in the mud anyway, so it's just a learning curve, and then pretty soon people will see enough good work and enough things will look cool and feel good that eventually it'll move, sort of.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be slow.
Yeah.
It'll be a slow progression. In our world, there's a lot of shops set up to spray solvent-based products that has to convert to water.
Yeah.
It's totally doable, and lots of people do, but it's different. And I think it's the same
It's a
for
thing.
site finishing. Right.
Yeah.
You just have to do it different. They dry faster. It's just different. I think it'll gradually change, and I think from from your world, from the site finishing, I think that'll probably be driven by homeowners.
Yep.
Because of that, they like the lower odor. The more recent water-based products are going to have less of that coalescing solvent in there. There's a lot of work going on there to have a lower solvent containing water-based product, so the odor coming from the paint will be less and less.
Oh, interesting.
And so it'll accentuate that difference between the solvent-based products and the water-based products.
Okay. Because we know that the guys applying it in the field aren't going to be the ones to be the catalyst to change.
Right.
So it's either going to come from homeowner or maybe even regulation. In that horse race, do you think the homeowners will do it first, or do you think regulation? Because there are regulations out there, but they're just sort of like out here and we're here, So what do you think is going to drive that first?
Well, I think in California it'll be driven by regulation first.
And it probably is right now.
Right. I think in the Midwest it'll probably be driven by homeowners first.
Yeah.
That seems to be how it is. The regulations in the Midwest are of course less stringent than they are elsewhere, and I think that people's concern over odors in their house will just continue to grow.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting. I get maybe 1 out of 20 clients always ask me about, especially we do a ton of cabinet refinishing where we come in and there's you got your prototypical 12-year-old golden old kitchen. We use oil primer. We use hybrid top coats. 1 out of 20 will ask me about smell, and I like the hybrids because I feel like I'm still doing a good by my homeowner, but the smell is down. But I still got to use that oil primer just for sake. And right now I can still get homeowners to when I can get their trust by basically saying, yes, you're going to have one stinky day, but honestly, there's nothing better out there yet. I would love to use a hybrid primer. I would love to use a water-based primer. They're not there yet. So, but I think there's a concern about it, but as long as we can still promise the quality of something else, I think it'll be there. But it's getting there. I mean, I would love to completely switch over to water-based everything now, but it's one of those things where, there are coatings that I could probably mimic my process now, but I can't get them 3 miles from my house, and that's
right.
And I think it'll just take enough of industry as a whole to do it, and but it's exciting for me because I would love, especially when you think about a finishing shop, how great would it be to go to a water-based something or other, the environmental concerns and safety of your guys, and that's great. So do you want to hang out for a couple minutes, and I'm going to run through, see if we got any questions, and if we do, you probably got to get to a meeting, don't you?
Sure. Yeah, I have 2 minutes.
I tell you what, why don't we do this? Thank you so much for doing this. I love talking to anybody who knows about the balls and the sticks and stuff like that. So, Chris, it's been awesome. Thank you guys for having me here, and I'll take care of the rest of this one here. So,
all right. Well, thank you.
Take care, sir. Yeah,
Good day.
absolutely. All right, everybody. I'm going to scroll through some questions here. Thank you for hanging out, and at the different time too. One of the principles of this sort of business strategy that something like Ceramic Industrial Coatings and I do in my business is you have your weekly meeting, but it always has to be at the same time, same place, same process and everything. And theirs is at 11:30, so they do not miss that meeting. So Gustavo, thank you for watching. Jose, if you guys have any questions, let me know here. Patrick Song, Paul Rafferty, Efren, awesome finishing work by Efren there. Greg Andreas, Russ Perry, as usual. How you doing, sir? Andy Chadwick, good friend of mine. Don Trey Wheeler, thank you for watching, sir. Eric Sowers, thanks a lot, man. Thanks for watching. Kevin Wooten, hey to you, Don Trey. Appreciate you watching. Brian Yowsey, Kelly's watching. Chadwick, Adam Weisseidel, another good friend of mine there. Freddie Spear, Kristen Lumbrecht, thank you for watching. Michael Van Morik, my friend from across the pond there. Joseph Hecker, sharing is caring, as Joseph says. Chris Burke, thanks for watching. Clisio Souza, Bautarde to you too, my friend. Clayton Feria, Chris Kubish, thanks for watching. Christine O'Connell from the PDCA. Ken Tillman, good morning to you too, sir. Stephen Smith, Ian Watson, Tim Liuski, Brian Kuhn, Bader Albushi, thank you for watching. Marito Arteguita, thank you for watching. Ron Rice, Junior Almeida, Amr Brawe, Andrew Hogan, thank you for watching, my friend. How Paulo Alves, Lindsey Green, from Bath, UK, thank you so much for watching. And you guys should follow Lindsay on social media too. She does some good projects. So Mark Johnston, thank you for watching. Dennis Correz, Andrew Richardson, Patrick Simpson, Christiane, Sean Onken, past client of mine there. He's got a beautiful house. Steve Gifford, thank you for watching. Renee David, Horniedo, Mary Ebel, Chris Patterson, one of my local paint reps here. Alexander Mello, Bautarde to you too, my friend, all the way down there in Brazil. So Paul Rafferty, thanks for watching, man. Richard Heilman, good friend of mine, another painting contractor. Tyler Hansen, the bearded one. Josh Erickson, Richard Heilman, oil primer for sure, you bet. You bet. Jessica Galloway. Richard, you'd love this place, Richard Heilman. This is just up the road from us, and they have a super impressive facility up here. Sam Jurek, Rodrigo Candido, Andrew Hogan. Hello to you too, sir. Andrew Richardson. Sorry, didn't catch the beginning. Where are ceramic coatings being used? All right. I love ceramic coatings more than anything else on earth, especially interior paints with ceramic in them. But the name of this country is in Ceramic Industrial Coatings. It was started a long, long time ago, where they originally, from what they explained to me, they originally manufactured a coatings to be in place of ceramic tile. So they wanted to capture that market. Now, they do not just make ceramic stuff back there. A lot of what they do, if you check their website, they actually have the website, I believe it's www.paints.com, which is pretty cool. But they have some really impressive stuff, water-based wood finishes, interiors, things like that. They do conversion varnishes, they do lacquers, they do custom colors. They're coloring, the color matching process is phenomenal back there. They have such quality control. They're measuring in deviations of delta. It's the most impressive thing I've ever seen, along with the automation. But they're not just making ceramic stuff back there. They make so many things back there. Super impressive coatings, and a lot of it is not available to us on the street. A lot of, let's say, if Lennar Homes up here is putting up 100 homes in a development, and they will contract with a pre-finished company to do all the doors, all the millwork, all the cabinets, and they will make specific either catalyzed products, conversion varnishes, water-based wood finishes, for them to all be pre-finished and then delivered on site and installed. So a lot of this is business-to-business stuff, but I love this stuff because you get access to the paint nerds, which are awesome. They know their stuff. So yeah, that's Andrew. I hope that helps out. You understand there. Shane Sexsmith, thank you for watching. Dave Napier, Shane Sexsmith, thanks for watching, man. And it's been fun following Shane on especially the Business Brush group and things like that. Diane Sink, thank you for watching. From International Decorative Artisans League. Ooh, that's one that I haven't heard from before. I'll have to check into that. That's cool. I love all the decorative stuff like that. So Adam Davis, Paul Rafferty, yes, oil varnish versus water base. I find I have to just up a bit more on the water varnishes. I leave up the customer. Yep, it's so far, at least for stuff that we can go grab off the shelf, it's not quite there yet. I use some water-based polyurethanes, and it's good. You just have to change, just like Chris was saying, you just have to change sort of the way you apply them. And because you have to do that, a lot of kickback is happening for painters, but that's just because we're a bunch of old fuddy-duddies and sticks in the mud. So let's see who else is here. Okay, well. International Decorative Artisans League. They'll be at the PDC Expo. That'll be awesome. I can't wait to talk to somebody there. So, okay, PDCA sent me last week. There was some question that got submitted to them, and they thought I might be the one to handle it. I did not have time because I got carried away talking to the big-muscled Chris Shank. I got distracted, and I didn't get to it. So, I have a question here from a contractor. And it goes like this, and we'll wrap it up here quick unless you guys have any other questions. I'm bidding a historic home this summer. They haven't chosen any colors yet, but we'll probably do, the two choices will probably be either a 2 to 3 color paint scheme or a 7 to 8 color paint scheme. How do I bid this? Now, a lot of this has to do, obviously, the numbers of colors is going to change your estimate. And also, the different LRVs, the different depths, shines of these colors are going to change. Russ Perry, thank you so much, sir. Rafael D'Souza, do they sell a product to Reglaze tub and tile? Not specifically that I've seen, but I will check on that before I leave here. Okay, so I could give you my personal experience, and I will with this. I usually draw up a couple options for people and give them examples, very specific examples. But you could either be a painter for 10 years and figure this out through heartache and pain and trial and error, or like everything else, there's actually an industry standard for this. The PDCA has gone through the hard work of using all of its members to come up with industry standards. This industry standard, they label them. This is P3, and it's called designation of paint color. And in order to, if there's a whole bunch of vagaries, this is simple. This problem, either a 2 or 3 color or a 7 to 8 color, that's actually kind of easy to estimate, those two things. But what if you get in the situation where the homeowners, you have a historic home, you have new construction, and new construction can either go, we're doing dove white on everything, walls, trim, everything, that's fine, or we're going to be doing 32 colors, decorative finishes, this and that. If you have to option everything out between 1 color and 32 colors, it's not even worth it. It's you need to have certain things or milestones. This if you, again, preemptively, if you say on your estimates that you abide by all the PDCA standards and anybody accepting your estimate also abides by those or is under the assumption that it will, you can actually go into there and say, well, here's my estimate, but here's the situations in which we will change the estimate. And it just sort of lays out a general guideline. And a lot of these standards are for the benefit of clarification from the contractor, but these things are not just to side with the painter. It's to make sure the general contractor, the homeowner, the client, and you are all on the same page with that stuff. So, oh, that's for Rob. Yep. So, I'll just read you a couple blurbs here. Basically, the purpose of this standard is to establish a number and placement of paint colors and color ranges prior to bidding. The intent of this document is to establish a criteria for bidding purposes where the number, extent, and placement of paint colors and color ranges are not designated on there. So a few very important pieces of this, and yes, it's a little bit of legalese, but it's actually not that long. There's a couple things here, and then they have some references in the back there too. A couple things you should know from this standard, and again, you put this on your estimate and everybody agrees to it going in. Number and placement of paint colors and color ranges must be indicated on the project bid document. So this basically lays out here, if we all agree to these standards, as the client and the builder, you need to hash this stuff out and you need to get it done. It also gives the caveat, when the number and placement of paint colors and ranges are not designated, the painting and decorating contractor must have a frame of reference which to bid these on. So there are reference documents and standards that you can follow here. And the things that I took out of this standard that are cogent that I use in my own business are standard specs, and they give you sort of levels. And for interior paint colors, you have they designate it into basically four things. You have a level 1. So you can designate your bid by, not 2 to 3 colors, not this and that. If you just designate these levels on your bid, it'll help you narrow in, and it'll help your clients not be surprised by anything. So level 1, 1 paint color, fairly easy. Level 2, no more than 2 interior paint colors. Level 3, more than 1 paint color shall be selected for the interior painted surface. No more than 1 paint color shall be selected for any one surface. So that just gives some guidelines where, the colors can change to this and that, but here's the number of surfaces, here's the number of colors we're sort of generally agreeing to. And then there's the level 4, which is unlimited, which is basically sky's the limit. You're probably going to have to do a little time and material in there. And then there's some other caveats here. They have exterior, where they outline the same number of things here. For color 1, 2, and 3, will designate for exteriors color ranges and stuff too. There's actually levels. Levels 1, 2, and 3. You're basically agreeing to off-whites or pastels or lighter colors, things like that. Level 4 only. Ultra deep tone paints, super glossy paints, things like that. So not only can you designate the level of number of colors, you can designate the level of types of colors, LRVs, depth, shininess, things like that. They basically give and still there's a lot of steps in there. So there's another section of this where it basically says, under the special circumstances, in a section back here, in the event that the number and placement of colors and color ranges are not designated in a bidding document, the painting and decorating contractor will assume a level 2. So if they basically have no idea what they're doing yet, you'll assume a level 2 and you'll go from there. And at least you guys understand that you don't have to get into all this, you must do this, you have this. We'll just say, hey, we all agree to the PDCA standards, so we're bidding at a level 2. This gives you an idea about the project. We can go less, we can go more, and it at least gives you a common language, common ground, common understanding. Now, this only works, PDCA standards only work if you have those in your estimates and everybody agrees to those beforehand. Let me go back through here. A couple questions. Russ Perry, awesome insight. Thank you much. Rafael D'Souza, as usual, thank you. Russ Perry, guessing the standards are only good in the U.S. Not true. These are just standards for painting and decorators. They're not. If everybody agrees to them, they're good everywhere. So if you have a common understanding with your GC or your homeowner, you can write your own standards. But when you have them here already, a lot of the hard work has been done for you. So, Richard Heilman, do you after sheens on your historic restorations with multiple colors to make them pop more, or stick to the product, or one sheen throughout? It depends on the substrate. Really drives what the sheen of the paint is. I've basically defaulted to low luster aura on most of my exterior projects, with the exception of a few historic brick restorations. For some reason, Duration Flat is a bomb-proof coating, and when applied correctly at the right wet mill thicknesses by hand, working it in, I've used the aura with the same results, but I've been using Duration for a decade now with phenomenal results. So, the shine to me is more, if we're doing a porch and a very intricate porch, like Richard actually drove by a street where I did many of these restorations in New Ulm, and when I do porches and porch railings, we'll go to a low luster just because there's a lot of horizontal surfaces and they stick. But otherwise, flat for the brick, low luster for a lot of wood and things like that. It seems to hold out the color better, at least I worked about 5 or 6 years ago with some paint scientists to try to figure out if shine actually held the color in or locked it in better, and they drew me the stick and ball charts of the molecules, and in theory, a paint with more shine has a different resin or more resin, and it actually locks the color pigments in, so the color pigment is not exposed to weather. And when you see the chalking and the whiteness and stuff, that's an actual pigment molecule being eroded. So if you have that shiny resin over it, it actually acts like almost like a clear coat and locks it in. And I've had good experience with that too. So Matt McHugh, thank you for watching. Rodrigo Antonio, Mohammed Mito, Dan Noki, and what is this and how do we find it? Go to www.paints.com. Oh, you might be talking about the standards. Ceramic Industrial Coatings, they're on Facebook, they're on the internet. Check them out. The PDCA standards, just go to the PDCA website or contact Christine O'Connell, Danny Ibrahim, or Chris Schenk. Those are all the education people at the PDCA, and probably on the PDCA's website they have an education section. I'm sure you can see some information on that and go from there. But if you have any questions about any of the industry standards, the PDCA is the place to contact as far as that goes. So Joaquin Antonio, Russ Perry, thank you so much, sir. Mike McNeil, Casey Wilcox, thanks for watching. Richard just drove through German Street in New Ulm this week, and that's why I asked. Your work is fantastic. I could tell the houses you did. Yeah, there's some outliers on there where homeowners, hopefully I'll be contacted by them soon. So Shane Sexsmith, thanks a lot, man. Mike McNeil, hello to you too. Andrew Hogan, love the insight, watching from Chicago. Yeah, we were just there at in Chicago for the Craftsmanship Forum. A beautiful city, absolutely loved it. So all right, PDCA just posted. Here's the standards. I'm going to go back into the factory. I'm going to see if I can't grab a quick live video of some of the stuff they do back there. And then I'm heading back to the shop. My Graco rep is actually going to be at my shop in 15 minutes, and we're going to go through entire group training with the guys. So I'll be joining them shortly, and we'll get after it. So you guys have a good weekend. Follow along the rest of today. I'll have some pictures. I'll have some other stuff for you, but you guys, anybody who's followed me long enough, you understand how much I get a thrill out of this sort of stuff. So we'll talk to you later, guys.